Hello and welcome to F1 Livery Histories, the channel where we take a look back at the different paint jobs, racing trims and sponsored decals adopted by respective Formula 1 teams throughout the eras. Today we'll be taking a look back at one of Formula 1's most decorated and prosperous teams. A team which ushered in a new era of technological ambition and racing brilliance within the Formula 1 world, and still to this day remain one of Formula 1's flagship constructors, Williams. The seeds of the team, now known today as Williams Formula 1, can be traced back to 1966, when a young and confident Frank Williams founded his original racing team, Frank Williams Racing Cars. The team initially competed in Formula 3 in 1967, Formula 2 in 1968, before making the step up to Formula 1, first entering a customer Brabham chassis at the 1969 Spanish Grand Prix, which was driven by Williams' personal friend, Pierre Courage, who managed to score 2 podium positions throughout the year, thanks to the competitiveness of the BT26A. However, such heights were few and far between for the fledgling privateers. The following season, Williams partnered up with Italian sports car manufacturers De Tomaso, who built the 505-38 chassis, which was entered by the team for the 1970 season. Williams' main driver up until that point, Pierre Courage, would lose his life at the Dutch Grand Prix of 1970, an event which deeply affected the team's owner. For the next 2 seasons, the team would run customer March chassis. However, the desired results were not forthcoming, and Williams would switch to the Polytoys FX3 chassis midway through 1972. In 1973, the team attracted significant sponsorship in the form of Marlboro cigarettes and the Isso Automobile Company, as they raced the custom-built Isso Marlboro IR chassis. Disappointingly, the involvement from Isso Marlboro was only to last a singular season, and Frank Williams' team continued on in Formula 1 for the next couple of seasons without any major financial backing, carrying on with the IR chassis, which was now redesignated as the FW, named after Frank Williams. In 1976, oil tycoonist Walter Wolf purchased a 60% share of the team, renaming it Wolf Williams, and appointed Frank Williams as team manager. However, Williams sold his remaining shares of the team to Wolf at the conclusion of the season. Williams would return to Formula 1 with a new team in 1977, formed in collaboration with engineering director Patrick Head, as Williams Grand Prix Engineering Limited. The 1977 season would mark the final occasion that the team raced as a customer entrant, fielding a singular March 761 chassis for the duration of the season. The following year, Williams would construct and race their very own Formula 1 chassis for the first time, officially entering the Formula 1 Constructors' Championship on their own merits. So begins our retrospective on the racing liveries of the enterprising Williams Formula 1 team. The Williams FW06, which debuted at the 1978 Argentine Grand Prix, is a car of numerous firsts. It was the first of many Williams Grand Prix cars designed by their chief engineer, Patrick Head, and was piloted by Alan Jones as a single car entry in 1978. The car also introduced for the first time investment from the Arab world, with Saudi Arabian airline company Saudia, private holdings company Techniques d'Avant-Garde, and Bank Alibad joining the Williams team as official sponsors. The car was also the first Formula 1 car to make use of mobile fuels. The DFV-powered vehicle was a technically sound concept that netted Jones and the team 2 podiums during its use throughout the 1978 season and the first 4 races of 1979. The car was dressed in a chiefly white livery that featured green and gold piping, along with the colours and logos of their major sponsors. Saudia appeared on the monocoque and rear wing, whilst Alibad featured on the car's engine cover. Beginning in 1978, the car initially promoted clothing company Fruit of the Loom, as well as automotive company Personal on its monocoque, before Tag took on the space for the 1979 season, an event which signalled the beginning of the Auger family's enduring association with Formula 1. The team would expand to 2 cars in 1979 and launch their FW09 chassis, designed by Head, Frank Durney and Neil Oatley, which made its debut at the Spanish Grand Prix. The design proved to be a tremendous success in a short space of time, as Clay Regazzoni quickly captured the team's maiden Grand Prix win at the British Grand Prix, and thanks to a further set of wins secured by Alan Jones late in the season, Williams would finish second in the Constructors' Championship and only its second season as an official entrant. Williams' involvement with its Middle Eastern investors was joyously celebrated by the team with the unfurling of 2 flags above its pit garage, those of Great Britain and Saudi Arabia, upon becoming world champions at the completion of the 1980 season. Along with the constructor's mantle, Alan Jones took out the driver's crown piloting the FW07B. The car now featured sponsorship in the form of Leyland on the side pods, in company with Dalla Avco, which featured on the car's engine cover. In 1981, Williams attained back-to-back constructors' titles, with Jones and Reutemann piloting the FW06C to championship success. The 1982 season saw Williams introduce the new FW08 to the grid, which made its debut at the Belgian Grand Prix and now boasted additional sponsorship in the form of Austin Rober and Petroman. The car was driven by Keke Rosberg to his first and only World Championship. The following season, Denham and ICI would join the team, with Denham taking up space on the side pods and front wing, whilst ICI signalled the introduction of yellow into the Williams livery, first appearing on the car's roll hoop. The yellow of ICI would feature more heavily on the car in 1984, as the now Honda-powered FW09 possessed a yellow tip nose, as well as a yellow field surrounding the driver. By now, Alibat had disappeared from the car, and the team were beginning to wind down their associations with Saudia and TAG. Subsequently, Williams' instituted connections with a previously untapped foreign market would pave the way for an increased Middle Eastern financial presence in all motorsports throughout the next 3 decades. Having introduced the two worlds of Formula One and Saudi Arabian industry to one another, Williams were now set to eventually part with their Saudi backers and embark on another championship surge with Honda V6 power and financial backings from new connections further east. Japanese printing and photography company Canon became Williams' title sponsor in 1985 and would continue to sponsor the team for a total of 9 Grand Prix seasons. Williams were now kitted out in a combination of yellow, blue and white, with ICI, Canon, Honda and Mobil all occupying space within slanted panels upon the bodywork of the FW10. Denham were now seen on the rear wing in the car's nose, while Saudia and Austin Rover featured on the livery in a diminished capacity, in what would prove to be the final season associated with the team for both companies. 1985 also saw NGK spark plugs joining the team as technical partners. Prior to the 1986 season, the team's leader Frank Williams was involved in a serious car accident and suffered major fractures to his spinal column, ultimately emerging from the incident in a quadriplegic condition. However, Williams' debilitating injuries did nothing to quell his intensity and attitude for winning, and was back at the helm after only a season away from the pit lane. On track, 1986 ushered in the reign of the all-conquering and widely admired FW11, which delivered the team back-to-back championship successes in 86 and 87. The car's yellow, blue and white panels were now adjusted horizontally, with the rear wing of the car now painted in white and occupied by title sponsors Canon. Nelson Piquet would pilot the FW11B to his third Drivers' Championship in 1987, as Williams secured their 4th Constructors' Trophy. New sponsorship came in the form of Barclay, which was seen beneath the driver's numbers, as well as Umbro on the sides of the front wing. Change was afoot in 1988, as Honda withdrew their support from the team. The new FW12 chassis was fitted with Judd power and struggled to compete with the top of the field during the season. Nevertheless, the team retained all of their major sponsors from the preceding year and headed into the 1989 season with a new engine supplier, Renault. Along with the switch to Renault came an agreement with the French fuel company Elf, as the team began their climb back to the front of the grid. For the 1990 season, Canadian beer Labatt's joined the team, tenanting space on the sides of the FW13B. The following season, Williams would introduce their legendary FW14 chassis, designed by Adrian Newey and Patrick Head, which over the course of the next 2 seasons would become established as one of the most technologically advanced Grand Prix cars in all of motorsport history. The 1991 season coincided with the loss of longtime sponsors ICI for the team. However, the team conducted a partnership with tobacco company Camel, which played a role in Williams keeping the colour yellow as part of its livery. Further enhancements of the Newey head design were manifest in the FW14B, which now featured among other things semi-automatic transmission, active suspension, traction control and for a brief period anti-lock brakes. The car swept the field during 1992, earning Williams their 5th Constructors' title, as team number 1 Nigel Mansell realised his long-awaited dream of becoming World Drivers' Champion. As it was, Mansell was not to defend his title during the subsequent season, with Williams signing Alain Prost as their number 1 driver for the 1993 campaign. Nonetheless, Williams-Renault remained unmatched on track as the team once again took back-to-back Constructors' titles, with Prost claiming his 4th and final Drivers' Championship. It was during this season that Sega joined the team, adding a dash of cartoonish creativity to the livery. The 1993 car would prove to be the final Williams painted in the celebrated yellow, blue and white livery, as Williams concluded their contracts with their long-established sponsors ahead of the new year. Beginning in 1994, Williams ran with a primarily blue and white livery, which featured red and gold piping, courtesy of their new title sponsors, British-American tobacco brand Rothmans. Prior to sponsoring Williams in Formula 1, the tobacco brand had previously sponsored Peugeot in the WRC, as well as Honda in MotoGP. The team's new eye-catching livery was subject to restrictions at races where tobacco advertising was banned. At such races, Rothmans was stylised as racing on the FW16B. Technical partners Renault and Elf remained within a blue hoop on the car's engine cover, and were joined by minor sponsors Devella and Segafredo. The season ahead proved to be a black one for not only Williams, but the entire Grand Prix racing world when three-time world champion Ayrton Senna passed away following an accident during the San Marino Grand Prix. Senna's fatal encounter occurred only 2 days after fellow driver Roland Ratzenberger perished in a crash at the same venue. Emerging from this double tragedy was a long and painful court process for the team. However, the three defendants, Frank Williams, Patrick Head and Adrian Newey, were all finally acquitted for all manslaughter charges in December 1997. In spite of this maelstrom of events, the team still managed to secure their third Constructors' title in a row during season 1994. The FW17, the car for the 1995 season, was the first car to carry the Senna S on its nose cone, adopted by the team in tribute to the Instituto Ayrton Senna. This was also the season Sanyo began sponsoring the team, appearing on the barge boards, whilst the car's Rothmans branding was thinly veiled as an assortment of blocks at venues held in countries which had banned tobacco advertising. In 1996, Damon Hill drove the Rothman Williams Renault FW18 to twin championship glories. The car now featured Black Tower and Sonax as sponsors, and won 12 out of the 16 championship rounds held in 1996. The following year, Williams were equally as successful, as Jacques Villeneuve captured the World Drivers' title, and Williams secured their 9th Constructors' trophy to date. 1997 saw the team switching from Elf Fuels to Castrol, and garnering new sponsors the likes of AMS, Falk, Komatsu and Hype, whilst adopting question marks on the bodywork of the FW19 in place of Rothmans. The FW19 marked the end of an era for Williams, proving to be the final car designed by Adrian Newey, as well as the final Williams car to be powered by factory Renault support. Wholesale changes were once again apparent for Williams in 1998. After Renault's withdrawal from the sport, the Williams FW10 was outfitted with Mechachrome power units, refurbishments of the 97 Renault engine design. Williams were now kitted out in an all-new, yet unfamiliar red livery, which represented the Winfield Cigarette Company, a subsidiary of BAT. Along with the shades of red, orange and white, the livery featured Winfield's kangaroo logo, as seen on the barge boards. German beer Veltins gained space on the engine cover, along with Universal Studios, which used space on the car's nose cone to promote its feature films. Brazilian petroleum company Petrobras also partnered the team during the season. More change was to follow in 1999, when another of the Grove-based team's long-standing associations was lost, as Goodyear withdrew from the sport. Williams cars were now fitted with Bridgestone tyres and Supertech engines, as the livery embraced a touch of light blue, as well as a revamped gradient effect. It was also during this season that Nortel Networks first purchased space on the car. Short-lived, the red Winfield Williams liveries were seen as contentious in the eyes of some, including Frank Williams himself, who would make do without the sponsorship of BAT after 1999, vowing to paint his cars red never again. After an 11-year hiatus from the sport, BMW returned to Formula 1 to partner Williams in 2000. The arrival of BMW coincided with a revamp of the team colours, as Williams competed in a more recognisable white and deep blue combination. The livery even featured a hallmark of previous BMW Formula 1 liveries, with its twin blue decals on the tip of the car's nose. A list of new sponsors, including Compax, Hewlett-Packard, Reuters and Allianz, all operated in conjunction with the new-look BMW Williams team. 2001 saw a further upswing in fortune for Williams in the FW23, which now ran on Michelin tyres and possessed a slightly altered blue and white motif. 2002 saw the arrival of FedEx, MCI, Intel, 7up and Accenture as team sponsors. In 2003, BMW's colours continued to evolve in shape on the FW25, as Hewlett-Packard inherited space on the side pods and rear wing from Compax. The Williams FW26, raced during the 2004 season, featured a unique and oft-derided nose cone design, dubbed a walrus nose, as well as new sponsorship from American brewers, Budweiser. The following season the team secured a new sponsor, the Royal Bank of Scotland, which occupied space on the engine cover of the FW27, the final Williams car outfitted with BMW power. The German marquee was set to part with Williams at the conclusion of the season, in order to devote its efforts to its newly established factory team. " 2006 was a season of transition for Williams, as the team took on customer Cosworth engines in the absence of BMW. Hewlett-Packard ended their 6-year relationship with the team, leaving Allianz to inherit the available space on the car's rear wing. The FW28 featured a simple composition, which was in keeping with Williams liveries of previous seasons, however with noticeable differences to the liveries of the BMW era. The 2006 car was mostly blue, with touches of white added to each of the car's air inlets and a thin white band which wrapped around the front of the car's nose. Additional sponsors, Tata and Philips, were also seen on the nose cone, whilst watchmakers Oris appeared on the sides of the front wings. In 2007, Williams became officially known as AT&T Williams, with the American telecommunications company appearing on the front wing and the sides of the rear wing of the Toyota-powered FW29. US computer manufacturer Lenovo, which had a working relationship with AT&T, now appeared on the rear wing and the side pods of the car, whilst Randstad took on a more permanent position with the team, appearing alongside AirAsia on the front of the car, which was now mostly white. Fashion brand All Saints joined the team in 2008, whilst toy retailers Hamleys, which had been involved with the team since 2004, increased its involvement with the team by having its logo positioned on the side pods of the car. In 2009, Philips expanded its involvement with the team, as they now occupy the space on the side pods and rear wing of the FW31. Global road safety campaign Make Roads Safe was now seen on the sides of the rear wing, along with smaller sponsors, Hell Energy Drink and Thomson Reuters. 2010 saw a return to Cosworth engines for the team, as Toyota exited from the sport, all the while the car once again retained its two-tone livery. However, this was set to change upon the launch of the FW33, as the team introduced a nostalgic element to their livery. Segments of red and silver now accompanied Williams' white and blue, in a fashion that resembled the classic Rothmans livery used by the team from 1994 until 1997. The 2011 season saw the team signing Pastor Maldonado as a driver, who was backed by Venezuelan state-owned oil company PDVSA, with the company's logos now appearing on the car's rear wing and engine case. BP signed on as the team's fuel supplier, and the team ran with Pirelli rubber. In a surprise finish, Maldonado would go on to secure Williams' final Grand Prix win to date, when he crossed the line in first position at the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, piloting the Renault-powered FW34. The car now featured an updated livery, which presented the driver's numbers within a white circle upon the side pods. Gillette and Head & Shoulders joined the team, along with fuel supplier Total. However, by 2012 the team had lost its support from titular sponsor AT&T. The team managed to pick up Experian and Waihuri for the 2013 season, as well as re-signing former sponsors Oris. Upon the season's end, PDVSA would withdraw their support for the team in favour of Renault. After a number of seasons spent down the pecking order, the 2014 season signalled a raft of changes for Williams, principal of which saw the team sign a deal with Mercedes engines, as Williams began their ascent back to the top half of the grid with the all-new FW37. Along with the switch to Mercedes came the arrival of brand new titular sponsorship in the form of Martini, who had returned to Formula One after an absence of more than 30 years. Martini's famous colours were now paired with a clean and focused white livery, which typified the new and rebooted Williams outfit. Petrobras returned to once again become the team's fuel supplier, along with regular sponsors Randstad, Oris and Experian. Banco do Brasil also became associated with the team during this season for the first time. In 2015, Australian antiperspirant brand Rexona acquired space on the side pods of the FW37, whilst Alpine Stars and Hackett became the team's official clothing suppliers. The team continued to retain the same livery into the 2016 season with the introduction of the FW38, and the FW40 in 2017, Williams' 40th anniversary in Formula One. The 2017 livery also saw Martini's colours extending to reach across what was known as the car's shark fin, as well as a change of colour scheme for their title sponsors held at races in alcohol-free countries. Upon the release of the FW41, Williams' 2018 challenger, Martini announced that the 2018 season would be their last in Formula 1 for the time being, leaving Williams to embark on a new sponsorship arrangement from 2019 onwards. The 2018 car features all of the familiar hallmarks of previous Williams Martini liveries, however with a much larger presence of black, which weaves around the bottom of the chassis. And so, with the 2018 season just around the corner, we now conclude our journey documenting the history of the mighty Williams Formula 1 team.